Hey, what's up? So, kind of want to just teach you a little bit how to build your team in Pokemon Showdown, just for anyone that's kind of unsure about how you basically how to build a team. Anyway, yeah, that's what I was going to say. So, first thing you want to do is pick a format because your format is going to determine what your team's going to be like, and each team is different depending on what format you're playing. So with me, I like to go Hackmons because that's usually what I play. Now, there's different ways you can go about doing this. Obviously, you can do the most basic way. You can click here and click attack. You can see who's got the highest attack. All right, so there would be Cartana. So now you might be thinking, okay, yeah, he's got a good attack, but how can you make him better? Okay, so your teams are going to be based around what format you're playing and the type of Pokemon you're going to be battling, as well as what's going to make your Pokemon better. So what you got here, right? You have Grass and Steel type, yeah? So Steel and Grass is both weak against Fire, obviously, yeah? So now, obviously, you can do something like Flash Fire, which is gonna make him immune to fire now, and now he's got less resistances. I mean, he's got less weaknesses. So that's one way you can do it, but maybe you don't want to. Maybe you don't want him to have flash fire. Maybe you want him to have a better ability like adaptability, right? Yeah. So adaptability will increase your power basically of stab moves, like same type attack. This basically means now your moves are gonna have more power, right? So take a move like Bullet Punch, which is Steel. His Steel type, yeah. Okay, and now obviously Bullet Punch also has priority because it goes first, and this is a good way to make up for the speed because he is fast, but you might encounter faster Pokemon. But a priority move is obviously gonna give you first hit, or you're gonna go first most of the time, right? But the problem is with this priority move is it's only 40 power. It's not very strong. Even with adaptability, it's only going to be at about like 80. I think 80 or something like that. And so now you can go, okay, how can I make this move even stronger? So you look at all your items, and then obviously you'd want like something like Choice Band, which does make your move stronger. But the problem with Choice Band is you can only select the first move. So maybe you don't want Choice Band. There's just so many different options you can do. It depends on your strategy in a way, whatever strategy you're going for. Like maybe you don't want priority move, right? So if you don't want a priority move, then obviously you might want a move that's just stronger already, like Sunsteel Strike. Now Sunsteel Strike is gonna ignore the abilities of other Pokemon. And the good thing about this is like if they have they have a move like Fur Coat or something that's going to make their defense even stronger, it's going to ignore it anyway, so it's still going to do like same amount of damage. So that's a good one, but maybe you don't want Sunsteel Strike, okay? What you can do is, I'll go back to Bullet Punch again. Now what you can do is you can go Belly Drum, because Belly Drum is going to give you even more power, right? Yeah. So maybe you want to use Belly Drum instead of adaptability. But the problem with Belly Drum is it uses a lot of health. You lose 50% health when you actually use it. So it's like, okay, now I'm going to lose health. How can I get health back after using it? So what you can do is you might want to do something like cheek pouch, where you're going to restore a little bit more health, and then you can use a berry like citrus berry, and now you can basically restore almost your full health after using belly drum, right? So now if you use this strategy here, citrus berry, cheek pouch, bullet punch, belly drum, that's gonna basically make that bullet punch move even better than it was if you didn't have any of this other stuff, right? So that's one way you can do it. Maybe let's look at another strategy, because it does depend on what strategy, right? So maybe you're going to be battling a type that's resistance to steel. Like there might be some kind of type that is going to resist steel, right? So maybe you're going to have to pick a second Pokemon that's going to go with your grass Pokemon. So the next step of building a team is you have a counter, right? You have counter Pokemon and you have coverage Pokemon. If you have steel and grass type, obviously they're going to probably use a fire type attack against you. So now you need a counter type to counter against fire. So this is where your second Pokemon comes in, something you can switch into. So maybe you want something like Swampert. And the good thing about Swampert is it's also ground type, which is going to resist electricity. And you've got your fire coverage now. So the next thing you want to do is be like, okay, how can you make Swampert better? Do you want to use another priority move like Aqua Jet, right? Maybe you want to use Aqua Jet. And you can do the same thing. You can do Belly Drum, Aqua Jet. And then you can do the same thing like Cheek Pouch and all that kind of stuff. Or maybe you're like, okay, water and ground. Now he's weak against grass type, yeah? So now you're going to need something to make up for grass. So you might want to give him something like Sap Sipper, which is going to give you grass immunity like that, okay? But the other problem is because he is ground type, he's also weak against ice. So what you can do is you might want to give him Yashberry, which is going to kind of like halve some damage from ice type moves. Or maybe you want to give him Thick Fat, because Thick Fat is going to also halve damage from ice moves as well. So now you got some ice defense here. You've also got ice defense here. So that is something you can do. You don't have to do that. Maybe you want something like you may just want to boost his moves even more. So you can do something like Liquid Voice. See his sound-based moves become water type, right? And now you might want to go like Boom Burst, right? So now Boom Burst is going to have Stab because it's now a water type move. So that's one way you can do it. Or you also have to look at his special attack isn't as high as his attack. So he's not really a special attacker. So maybe in this case you want to do something like you might want to do like Quiver Dance, you know? Or you might want to go Nasty Plot just to raise his special attack even more. Okay, and now it's got a higher special attack to go with this special type move, like here, Boom Burst. So you can do that. If you don't want Liquid Voice, there is other water type abilities like Water Bubble. Something like Water Bubble here, and then you can still do your Aqua Jet. And get rid of Nasty Plot. And then maybe you still want to choice band that, like so, you know. So that's pretty good. It's also going to have a little bit of damage from from fire. Sorry. Not that you really need the fire defense, but it is good. So in Hackmons, okay, what are the most viable strategies? Now you have to ask yourself, okay, what strategies are actually going to be good and bad? So obviously, priority moves are one strategy you can do, but there is another strategy you can do, right? Besides having your counter Pokemon and all that, you may want something like, you may just want a really strong Pokemon that's gonna be like almost like a wall. It's gonna wall a lot of other Pokemon. It's gonna kind of like, you might want a sweeper or a wall. And generally, sweeper and wall just means that one's going to be bulky and defensive, the other one's going to be super strong and sweep a whole team. So an example of a sweeper would be something like Regigigas. And now you got to look at Reggie and be like, okay, his normal type. Now the benefit of having normal type is Spectral Thief does not work on Reggie. Okay, so what you can do is maybe you wanna do something like Magic Bounce. Okay, don't ask me why I'm doing this. I'll tell you anyway. So Magic Bounce, if someone's going to try and use a Topsy-Turvy on you, because you might want to be like, okay, Belly Drum. Yep. Belly Drum, you've just boosted your attack, and now they can't Spectral Thief you. They can't steal your stats. But they might want to do something like Topsy-Turvy, where they invert your stats. So now it becomes a minus. So Topsy-Turvy, it inverts your stat changes. So basically, if you're +4, you'll now be like -4, okay? So Topsy-Turvy won't work on Magic Bounce. Magic Bounce is going to bounce that back, and it's going to give you a little bit of protection. Also, if they try to use something like Parting Shot on you, that's also not going to work because of your Magic Bounce. This is going to give you a lot of defense, except for maybe Haze. They might try and use something like Toxic and try and poison you. Magic Bounce is also going to stop that. They might try use entry hazards like Stealth Rock, and that's also going to be bounced back by a Magic Bounce. Okay, and a common one you see is Spore. They might try and put you to sleep, and Magic Bounce is also going to protect you against all status conditions. So now you can safely boost your stats, and you can get a priority move like this, Extreme Speed. Now you have a priority move to go with that. And they can't status you. You've got a stat boost. They can't steal your stat boost. You have priority move, but the problem with using Belly Drum is you're going to lose health. So once again, you're going to need something like a Citrus Berry. And now from there, you're going to need, obviously, normal type can't hit Ghost, and Ghost can't hit normal type. So, well, unless you have Scrappy, the ability Scrappy, which maybe you want Scrappy as part of your strategy. So then you'd change Magic Bounce to Scrappy. You'd change Magic Bounce to Scrappy like that. Now you can hit Ghost type, okay? So that's another way you can do it. But instead, I'll be like, okay, now you can do Spectral Thief, okay? And now if someone tries to stat boost as well, now you can steal their Spectral Thief. I mean, you can steal their stats. So now you've got a move that's effective against Ghost. You have a stab type move that's also priority. And maybe you're going to be weak against fighting type, okay? And Spectral Thief might not do much damage to Dark type Pokemon. So you might come across a fighting and Dark type where it's like, okay, he's going to resist Extreme Speed and Spectral Thief. So now you can add something like Drain Punch, or even like any other fighting type move you want, really. Maybe you want Sacred Sword, and then that's going to be effective against Dark type Pokemon. So that is something you can do like that. You could have something that's going to counter a fighting type, because you still don't really want to get hit with a fighting type move. And that's where you can have a flying type move. Maybe you want like Dragon Ascent, but it's going to lower your stats. You might want Drill Peck, the flying type move. Maybe you want Psychic, because Psychic is going to be effective against fighting type, okay? But the problem with Psychic is there's not many physical attacks with it, okay? You look for here, like barely any of these are physical except for Psychic Fangs and Zen Headbutt, and they're not really the highest power, you know? So maybe you want to do that. Maybe you want to have Psychic Fangs, though. Then what you can do is, because Psychic Fangs is a biting type move, you can add something like Strong Jaw, which is going to increase the power of bite type attacks. So what ability you have is also, it has to make your moves better, or it has to make your Pokemon better, or it has to kind of cover some of your weaknesses, okay? But if you're still unsure, like you don't understand what moves are good, what abilities are good, I made a video already for that, so I'd recommend watching those videos first, like best moves, best abilities, and you'll kind of get a better idea of what moves and abilities are good. But I didn't really cover all the moves, okay? Like I just went through the most annoying moves, so I might even make another video. The best offensive moves or something you can use. Okay, so next, if you want to know what Pokemon to actually use, right? There's also different ways to go about what Pokemon you use. You might want to check out the most used Pokemon in Hackmons. Like what I usually do is I play like 10 or 20 matches first. I see what Pokemon everyone else is using, and then I'll make a team that's going to counter all the most popular Pokemon. All right. So what you can do is you might want to go. You might want to try and look for the most used Pokemon. I don't know if they can. I know there is a stat. There's somewhere you can find these stats. I'm just trying to find it. I'm sure if you ask the mods or whatever, they'll post it. Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure you just go into the help section up here and you just ask them to tell you what Pokemon are the most used anyway. But if you don't want to do that, what you can do is just simply just play a few matches, find out what Pokemon everyone else has got. From experience, I know everyone is using Eternatus. So you look at a Pokemon like Eternatus, right, and he's Poison and Dragon type. So that's also going to be weak against Ice and Psychic. So maybe you want something like Calyrex Ice, which is going to counter Eternatus. So he's probably the perfect counter for Eternatus, right? So that's one way you can do it. You can get your counters for each type, and everyone else is obviously using Reggie a lot. And if they use Reggie, maybe you want someone like Marshadow, because Marshadow is also going to be a perfect counter for Reggie, Ghost, and Fighting type. So, and then now what would be a counter for Marshadow, you might ask? So obviously you look at what fighting is weak against. It's weak against flying and psychic type. The psychic isn't going to do much damage against ghost. I think it might even be immune to psychic. So you're going to need flying type here. So flying and dark type. Okay, so you look for a flying and dark type. You want a specific type. Now you can go into this little type section here. You can go flying. And now you can add a second type, dark. And there's only 4 flying and dark type Pokemon you can use here. So you might just want to go with this. And now he's going to be the perfect counter for Marshadow. So the problem here with flying is now you got to think of what is flying weak against. So you're going to have to change this ability that's going to make him even stronger. So Delta Stream, actually, any super effective attack against flying is going to do neutral damage in Delta Stream. So you can either have Delta Stream, because flying is technically weak against ice. You might want Sick Fat here. It's going to reduce ice type damage. You might also be weak to electricity. So you might want Volt Absorb. You might want Lightning Rod, okay? So something like Lightning Rod's going to be really good with flying type Pokemon, just because now you don't have electric as a weakness. And if they do hit you with an attack, it's going to raise your special stat anyway, alright? So you can do that. Or you can add a priority. Aerolate is going to turn normal type moves into priority moves, basically. So now you can do extreme speed. And it's going to be flying type now, okay? Or you might want Boom Burst. And now Boom Burst is going to be flying type. So that's another thing you can do. For every type, there is also abilities that are gonna make every type better as well. Because some abilities are type specific, some abilities are Pokemon specific, some abilities give you a resistance to something, they might give you priority to something, they might give you resistance to priority. Like Queenly Majesty right here is gonna also give you resistance to priority. Like it's basically you're immune to priority moves. And because you're a dark type, dark is also immune to Prankster. So now you can't use Prankster and you can't use these priority moves on this Pokemon. So, I mean, if you go through this whole list, you can look at how many abilities there are. You might just want to pick an ability first and then pick a Pokemon that suits that ability. You might want to pick a move and then pick a Pokemon that's going to suit that move the most. Like you can look through all these moves here, be like, okay, what's the most powerful move in the game? Okay, let's scroll down and have a look. Well, you might not want these, but you might want to move like V-Create. And now you want a Pokemon that's going to match V-Create, right? So now you look, okay, what's the strongest fire type Pokemon? You have a look. Strongest fire type Pokemon is Darmanitan. So now you give him V-Create, okay? And that's just something you can do, alright, like that. And now you might want to give him something like Levitate, because obviously fire is weak against ground. And this is going to give you ground immunity. Or maybe you want like Water Absorb, right? Because that's going to give you immunity to water. But maybe you don't want that. Maybe you want Desolate Land. Desolate Land is also going to give you... I mean, it's going to stop any water type attacks as long as this is active. So you formulate a strategy, like you pick a move and then you pick a Pokemon to suit the move, and then you pick an ability that's gonna better your Pokemon and your moves. And then obviously the items are the same thing. You can look at your items, pick an item that's gonna make your team even better, right? So now obviously if you had something like Water Absorb, now you're still weak against ground type moves, okay? So you want an item that's going to give you a little bit of resistance to ground. And that's where maybe Air Balloon. You might want Air Balloon, which is going to give you some ground resistance here. Okay, does that make sense? And the next thing you look at is your EVs and all that. You can choose to increase your defense a little bit more. You can change your nature to make it more defensive or stronger. So definitely play around with the EVs and the natures as well. So this obviously isn't the best team. Like the team that I've got right here is not going to be like the greatest team ever, because this is just an example just to show you. So I'll delete all these Pokemon because like I'm not going to keep this team obviously. But another strategy you can do is, I've already showed you this like heaps, I'm pretty sure. You might want to go, yeah, okay, so say you had an item, right? There's an item that you really want to use, like Eviolite. You want a Pokemon that's going to be really good with Eviolite. So now you have to think, what Pokemon that evolve, like what are the best Pokemon that evolve, okay? So you have a bunch of different options. You can use Dusclops, because he's pretty good. Look at his defense already. It's not even fully evolved, and he's already got that 130 defense. And then you go Eviolite. Okay? So now he's even stronger because he's got Eviolite. And then maybe you want Fur Coat, which is going to make your defense even better. Or maybe you want something that's going to be defensive against special attacks instead. So something like Ice Scales is going to give you some protection against special attacks instead. So maybe you don't have Eviolite. Maybe you want something else. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go into what Pokemon have the highest special defense. Okay, let's look something like Shuckle. Okay, we won't look at Shuckle. We'll look at like Ho-Oh, for example. So what you can do is you go Assault Vest, which is going to make your special defense even higher. So now you go Assault Vest plus ridiculously higher special defense already, which is going to make him extremely overpowered. Like this is just going way overboard. Like this is an example of what a wall would be. Like this Pokemon would be so bulky. I mean, there's not many moves that can like one shot this Pokemon with this combination right here. Assault Vest, Ice Scales, and then you just turn this up max. Now you try and boost your special defense or something like that. Hang on. Where is this special defense? Yeah, so gentle. You might want to do something like gentle. And now he's just ridiculously strong, okay? Well, defensively, I should say durable, ridiculously durable. So that's one way to look at it. I probably wouldn't really use that specific combination though, because when I use Ho-Oh, his defense is already good enough. You don't really need to make his defense any better since it's already good. But you might want to increase his speed or something here. So you could give him Speed Boost. Speed Boost is going to make him even stronger. You might want to give him some priority moves. Priority is going to be good. But there is one problem. He's not very good at switching into Stealth Rock. So you have to kind of predict what the person's going to do. And if you switch in to Stealth Rock with this Pokemon, you're going to be taking a lot of damage because Fire and Flying are both weak against Rock. So what you do is you'd probably want to carry Boots with Ho-Oh. Going to give you some immunity to Stealth Rock. And boots is probably one of the best items for Ho-Oh just because of Stealth Rock. You don't really need it. I mean, technically, if you do switch into Stealth Rock, you can heal and get your health back. I mean, you might want to heal. And if you want priority with healing, then obviously something like Tri-Age is going to give you priority with healing. Prankster is going to give you priority with healing, and now you can always heal first turn now. So whatever moves you have, there is abilities to match that. Like I said, Drain Punch. Say there's a move Drain Punch, and you want to make Drain Punch better. So now you use Tri-Age. And now Tri-Age is going to give Drain Punch priority, okay? Now you have priority Drain Punch. But then, obviously, Tri-Age is going to work with healing and draining moves. Prankster is going to work with status moves. So if you want you want to use any status move, like whether it's Haze or something, then you're going to want Prankster with Haze. Then maybe you want something like Taunt. You're also going to need Prankster with Taunt, just so you can go first. Literally anything. If you want a flinching move, same goes for flinching moves, like Air Slash. You have something like Air Slash here, but you want an even higher chance of flinching the Pokemon. So now you would use Serene Grace, which is also going to increase the effect of flinch. Okay? So that's one way you can look at it. You can look at a move that has recoil damage. So let's just go through these moves here and look for one that has recoil damage. Something like Head Smash, okay? This move is really strong. You have a move called Head Smash, it's really strong, okay? But the accuracy isn't great. And it has recoil damage. So now you have two choices. You can increase the accuracy here by going Compound Eyes, something like that, or you can do No Guard. Now it's always going to hit. But maybe you don't want recoil damage. Maybe that recoil damage is a little bit too much for you. So you can actually technically do Magic Guard. Magic Guard does prevent recoil damage. Like that. But even if you don't mind the recoil, you just want a really strong move, okay? You can do okay, not Sheer Force. I don't know if it is Sheer Force or not, but yeah, okay, it's Rockhead. I'm thinking of Rockhead. Something like Rockhead is also going to stop you getting recoil damage. But I was thinking of secondary effect with Sheer Force, so my apologies. So yeah, we'll look for a move that has a secondary effect, alright? Let's just look for one, like a random move that has secondary effect. Yeah, so here's a move that does have a secondary effect. It does lower your stats. And this has recoil. It does have a secondary effect here. So something like Flare Blitz. You can also combine something with Sheer Force. Because Sheer Force is going to be that ability you want to use with any secondary effect move, right? And in my other video, I did mention a few moves with secondary effects a lot, just because they are the best moves to use. Like Flare Blitz, you might have, I think it's Fury. Oh no, it's something like Sacred Fire, right? Then Inferno. you can just get a little bit more power out of these moves with sheer force. But the downside is obviously you're gonna get rid of these secondary effects, but you are gonna make them a lot stronger. Obviously, Inferno. Obviously, you probably wouldn't want to use that because the accuracy is too low with that. But you do have like Thunderous Kick. It's also going to lower their defense. It's got a secondary effect like that. Something like Scald. If you had a water type Pokemon, you could use Scald, and you could make that even stronger just with sheer force. So it is whatever moves you have. You just look for the ability that's going to complement that type of move. Right? So I should probably go through a few more abilities that I think you can use. I read a bunch down, so let me just look on my other computer. Yeah, okay. So the other thing you can do is you can predict that someone's going to do stat boosting in the game of Hackmons, because there's one thing that everyone does in Hackmons, which is stat boosting. Like, or majority of people are going to try and stat boost with you. Take a Pokemon like Zacian, right? As soon as Zacian switches in, his stat is already raised by 1. So from the moment he switches in, he's already a huge threat. A lot of people do use Zacian. So what you might want someone like Zamazenta, get rid of Dauntless Shield, but you might want something like Unaware. Okay, so Unaware is going to give him, what's the word? He's going to kind of ignore the stat changes of other Pokemon. And the reason why this is good is because his defense is super high. And even if someone does stat boost their attack, like someone uses Belly Drum, you still have Unaware and you're not going to really be taking any more damage anyway. Because like I showed you before with that whole Belly Drum strategy, if someone does use Belly Drum like that, yeah, if someone does try to use Belly Drum on you, then you've got Unaware anyway, so it's really not going to make a difference at all. But yeah, and then if someone has stat boosts, there is things you can do to get rid of someone's stats. Obviously, you can use Haze. You can use Spectral Thief to steal their stats. You can use Topsy Turvy to steal their stats. You can use Psych Up, which is going to copy their stats. You can use Sacred Sword, which is going to ignore their stats. Darkest Lariat ignores their stats. Clear Smog resets their stats to 0. So there is a bunch of different counters for stat raising and all that type of thing, right? I think even in my phone, I'm pretty sure I had some counters written down here. Yeah, if someone does use stat boosting, your other option is Imposter. You could use Imposter and switch in, and then you're also gonna copy the same stats as them. You're gonna have the exact same Pokemon with stat boost and everything because Imposter. The other thing you can do might be Taunt. You might want something like Taunt, which is going to stop them boosting stats anyway. But if you don't have Taunt, maybe... Okay, yeah, you might want something like Whirlwind. And Whirlwind's going to switch... Oh, sorry, that's not Whirlwind. Whirlwind is going to force them to switch Pokemon. So if they can boost their stats as much as they want, but if you have Unaware and Whirlwind, they're going to lose their stats anyway, which is hilarious. Because the last thing you don't want someone that has Mold Breaker hitting you, right? Or, I mean, unaware isn't really foolproof. It's not 100% safe. You could still be hit with Sunsteel Strike. You can be hit with Photon Gazer because these ignore abilities, right? Someone can use Core Enforcer on you. They could nullify your ability. So you got to watch out for like Mold Breaker. You got to watch out for someone that has like Mold Breaker and stuff because they're gonna ignore your ability, and that is kind of a big deal. Especially if you have unaware and you think you're safe. It's like, oh, I think I'm safe, and then you just get one hit, and then you're like wondering, what did I do wrong? I don't understand this. So that's where you got to be a little bit careful, and that's where Whirlwind comes in handy. Where even if they do try and boost their stats, don't think you're safe just because they're boosting stats. Just play the safe option and just most likely just haze them or spectral thief them. Just get rid of their stats as quick as possible because they can technically batten past their stat changes to another Pokemon that does have Mold Breaker, and that would be really bad. That would be not a good thing to happen. All right. I told you about No Guard, which increases the accuracy of moves. I told you about adaptability, which increases the power of moves. I have told you about Prankster, which gives you priority over status moves. Tri-Age, which gives you priority of healing moves and draining moves. Now, Magic Bounce, which is also going to protect you against status moves and that kind of thing. Magic Guard is going to stop recoil damage and also going to stop life orb damage. Now, there is also moves like Refrigerate, which you can turn normal type moves into different type, like Ice type, for example. And that's good if you want, like, you still want these priority moves, but you want them to be like Ice type or something like that. So you can use Refrigerate. You could use Pixelate with any normal type move. So you can use abilities that convert the types. You also, with abilities, you have abilities that give you resistance to types. Like I said, like Thick Fat is going to resist fire and ice. Flash Fire is going to give you immunity to fire. There's also stuff like Poison Heal, which is going to give you immunity to poison. And then you can pair Poison Heal with something like Facade, which is also going to double if you are poisoned anyway. Right. So you just think there's so many different combinations you can do. If you have immunity, now you can't be poisoned because you have immunity. If you have Comatose is going to prevent status. Literally, even if you think someone's going to try and lower your stats, because it's common for them to try and lower your stats in the game too. Then you might want something like competitive, where your special attack's raised by 2 for each stat that's lowered. So, I mean, there's so many different variations, and there's probably millions of combinations you can do in the game. That's why it's so confusing for beginners to learn. It's like, okay, I don't know what team to build, and it's literally you can make any combination you want, right? Like literally, you have to move like Rest. Okay, Rest is going to heal your full HP, right? but it puts you to sleep. So it's like, okay, I'm asleep. How do I wake up when I am asleep? You want to use sleep talk. Once you're asleep, sleep talk's gonna, I don't know. I think it does wake you up. I'm not too sure. I've never used that actual combination. I use early bird usually though. With rest, you can use early bird, and that's gonna wake you up even quicker. So that's another thing you can do is rest and early bird. Maybe you don't want rest. Maybe you want something else. Maybe you want something like unburden. You just want to be super fast. So now you got something like unburden, which hang on. Shellac berry, alright? So you can eat a shellac berry. You can use unburden. Maybe you want stuffed cheeks. You choose to use stuffed cheeks. Now you eat your berry early. You increase your defense, but your speed has also doubled because of stuffed cheeks and unburden and shellac berry. So I mean that's another combination you can do is you can use moves that complement berries and then abilities that complement berries. Like unburden is only one. It's only one ability that complements berries, and the other one is like cheek pouch is the other good one that I like personally. So that's an option you can do. It's literally there's so many combinations in the game. Like bulletproof. I just seen it right here. So bulletproof is going to give you immunity to ball type moves. I'm guessing, yeah. So any ball type moves, which is pretty useful. Soundproof is like the other version of bulletproof, which is going to give you immunity to sound moves. And I think there's basically an ability for everything. If you don't want contact, you don't want contact damage, right? So say someone uses King's Shield. No. Sorry, Spiky Shield. Someone uses Spiky Shield. That's where something like Long Reach would come in handy, where now your moves don't actually make contact. If someone uses Spiky Shield, you're probably not going to make contact with that shield anyway. And that's super important if you don't want to take contact damage, especially if someone has an ability like Iron Barbs, which is going to do damage on contact. And then maybe they have like Rocky Helmet, right? So that might be a combination you want. You might want Rocky Helmet, Iron Barbs, and Spiky Shield. Okay? But maybe you don't want that. What I do is I use Cramorant. Because Gulp Missile kind of does the same thing, right? If they make contact with Gulp Missile, they're also going to take a little bit of damage. They're going to lose a quarter of their HP. So you can do Rocky Helmet with Gulp Missile, and then maybe you want Spiky Shield as well with that. And that's a super annoying combination right there that usually it's going to take a lot of damage off of the opponent. And then even with that, you can set up some like Stealth Rock. You might want to set up some hazards on the field. So if they switch in a Stealth Rock and then you shield, and then they hit you, and then you Gulp Missile, they're going to lose more than half their HP just from that already, you know. And then you add the damage from like a move like Surf on top of that. And you can see why Cramorant is such a threat in the game just because of that. Even though his stats are pathetic, his stats suck, he doesn't need good stats. Like, all you need is Focus Sash, right? You only need a Focus Sash with Cramorant, and then you're gonna get one hit on him anyway. And you only need one hit with Cramorant, which is to activate Gulp Missile. So you have to use Surf to actually activate Gulp Missile. But basically, once it's activated, he's gonna take damage. Anyone's gonna take damage, right? Unless they poison you or something like that. So that's a strategy. Another strategy I do would be Ice Cube. His Ice Face ability lets him have one. Okay, for the first hit he takes, he gets no damage. So what you want to do, you want to belly drum. Definitely, this is the only good strategy with Ice Cube, by the way. Like, the best strategy you can do is Ice Shard, belly drum, Ice Shard, Ice Face, and something like Life Orb. That's literally the best strategy you can have with Ice Cube, right? Because Ice Shard is a priority move. Keep that in mind. It is priority. And belly drum is just going to make Ice Shard a little bit stronger. Cool. And just like Ice Cube, you have Mimikyu, which is almost the exact same ability. Just you take a little bit more damage on the first hit. But you can do the exact same thing. You can do belly drum. Then you can do Shadow Sneak, which is also a priority move. And then you can Life Orb that as well. Alright? So you might want belly drum, Shadow Sneak, Mimikyu. And these abilities are just gonna give them one free turn to use belly drum. And that's all you want. You just want that one free turn to use belly drum, okay? And that would be your safety, I should say. It's your safety in the game. But there is ways around it, obviously. Like I said, those moves and abilities that ignore other abilities are going to be a problem, right? So, Mold Breaker, watch out for Mold Breaker, Turbo Blaze, Terravolt, Sunsteel Strike, Photon Gazer, Moongeist Beam, especially this is the main one you want to watch out for is Moongeist Beam, because that is definitely going to one-hit KO you if you do have Mimikyu, right? So that's your biggest threat is Moongeist Beam. And yeah, maybe your strategy is the stat boost, like, but maybe you don't want to use belly drum. Maybe you just want to use a different stat boosting move. So what do we do? We use someone like Darmanitan. Okay, so we'll go simple. The next best thing you can do besides belly drum would be sword dance and simple, right? Because this is going to give you an extra stat boost on top of the stat boost you already have. So simple, sword dance, and then you might want to Ice Shard with him too, right? So you can do that, Ice Shard, but the problem is you don't have one free turn to get immunity. There is no one free turn to boost your stats or anything with this guy, unless you do Focus Sash. So Focus Sash is only going to guarantee that you don't get knocked out in the first hit. So use that first turn to actually Sword Dance. Sword Dance, Ice Shard, Focus Sash, simple. And definitely, you see his attack is already pretty good as it is, so you know it's going to be doing a lot of damage. A lot. So you can do that strategy. I like that strategy. Maybe you want Calyrex Ice instead, though, because Calyrex Ice is a little bit stronger. Yeah, he's actually way stronger. So not just defensively, but also offensively too. So maybe Calyrex Ice you might want to use Ice Shard, Calyrex Ice, but whatever Pokemon you use, it's up to you. Like you can choose your stats here. You might want to someone that attacks, someone that's defensive, someone that's fast. Maybe you want HP. And this is where HP is actually important. So you have a Pokemon like Chansey. The thing with Imposter Imposter boosts all of your stats. Well, it copies every single stat except for HP. Okay? So it's hard to explain, but obviously your HP is never going to change. Even if you use Imposter, your HP is always going to stay at 250. So what you want to do is you want to use Eviolite Chansey with Imposter, okay? Because that's probably the best thing you can do. Like, that is the best Pokemon to use Imposter with. Just mainly because it has the highest HP besides Blissey. But then you get a little bit more defense from Eviolite. But maybe you don't want that. Maybe you want, I don't know. Maybe you can use any other Pokemon with good HP. So yeah, you can use Zygarde. Pokemon like Zygarde, also really good with Imposter. In fact, you don't even need Imposter with Zygarde just because he's already good enough as it is. Like, his stats are already perfect, okay? But the problem with Zygarde is he's double weak against ice. So you almost have to use like Thick Fat with Zygarde. You have to use the like Thick Fat and probably Yashberry. That's gonna make him super bulky. I'm sorry. If you don't want that, you can use Assault Vest. You can Assault Vest Fur Coat is probably also good. You can use like Yashberry Fur Coat. Maybe you don't want Fur Coat. Maybe you want Ice Scales instead, which is alright. But you don't really need to worry too much about special damage because he's not really that weak against special type attacks. Mostly considering most of the ice type attacks are technically mostly physical. Like if we go into ice type attacks here and have a look, most of the ones people use are physical, and the ice type attacks that aren't physical, they don't have the best accuracy or they have bad effects, right? Because this charges first turn, it's not the best one to use, right? Sheer Cold is banned, so you can't use that. Low accuracy for Blizzard, people aren't even going to bother with that. Ice Beam, you do have to watch out for Ice Beam because that is the threat in the game. But because you have Yashberry, I mean, you're going to be pretty safe with that as well. At least for one turn, you're going to be safe. So you can use Ice Scales, but that's where you might want Assault Vest instead. Like Assault Vest, Fur Coat, or Assault Vest, Ice Scales, or Thick Fat, something like that. Right? So Zygarde, I consider Zygarde one of the best in the game just because there's so many ways you can just make him stronger. Like, he's already strong as it is, but now he becomes even bulkier. Right? So what are the other... Okay, yeah, that's what I didn't talk about. Okay. Next thing I'll talk about is... I'll use Blaziken, because I like Blaziken as an example. This is who I use this strategy with, right? Say there's a Pokemon like Blaziken, super cool Pokemon, but you want to make him a little better. You don't like his speed, it's only 80. So, okay, I hate his speed, I want him to be faster. So you give him Speed Boost, because Speed Boost with Blaziken, really good. Now you Protect. First turn, use Protect. It's going to give you a free Speed Boost. Now he's already going to be a lot faster first turn. Or you can do Power Up Punch, right? You can do Power Up Punch first turn. And then you can get a Focus Sash. So, what will happen is, you use Power Up Punch first turn. It's going to boost your attack. Now, they're probably going to land an attack on you. So you're going to want Focus Sash just so you don't get knocked out first turn. And then second turn, use Protect, which is going to protect you for 1 turn, so you get an extra speed boost. And now after 2 turns, your speed boost should have boosted you enough to the point where you're faster than most Pokemon already. So after 2 speed boosts, you should be fast, and you've already got an extra power up boost as well. So now your power is boosted, your speed is boosted. All that's left to do is just finish the other Pokemon now. So you're going to need these really strong moves. You might want V-Create here, because V-Create is going to be really good. The bad thing is it does lower your defense and speed and stuff like that. So maybe you don't want V-Create, but I would say V-Create is generally, it's going to knock them out first turn for sure. But you can definitely just have a look in here, right? So go into your fire type moves. Okay, look at the next best fire type moves here. So Pyro Ball, alright? You might want Pyro Ball with this combination in Blaziken. So you're gonna need 1 type stab move. So you've already got a stab move with fire. And the other one, you might want, I'll say like Sacred Sword. You don't need Sacred Sword. You could pick any fighting type move in the game. It doesn't have to be this. I'm using this as an example, right? So maybe you want Sacred Sword. Maybe you want Drain Punch. Maybe you don't even want a fighting type move. Maybe you want a move that's going to be coverage, right? So because you are fire type, you're weak against water. And water is weak against electricity. So you might want an electric move to counter water. But you also have fighting types. So maybe you're going to want something that's going to counter both water and flying. So I would say an electric move is going to be good to cover flying type and water type. So you would probably want to run some type of electric move with Blaziken just for that reason. So you do have options like Plasma Fist in the list. I would probably say Plasma Fist is the best one to go here. Something like that is like a really, really good set with Blaziken. Super strong. But if you want, you can technically get rid of Power Up Punch here, and you can just add a fighting type move instead, right? So you can add something like High Jump Kick or whatever other one you want, right? You might want Thunderous Kick, because Thunderous Kick is a pretty good move to have. It does lower their defense. So a set like that is more common to see, where you have a fighting type and a flying. Fire and fighting, like both these types. All right, so keep that in mind. But you can do the same thing. So even if you don't have Blaziken, I'll go back to Zamazenta for a sec. You can do the same thing. You can speed boost and then power up punch here. You can speed boost and power up punch. So it's like almost raising 2 stats at the same time. It's more commonly seen with Urshifu though, because Urshifu's speed is not very good. So you might want speed boost, power up punch, protect, and then something like you want some type of item that's going to boost your dark type attacks, like black glasses, for example. Here, black glasses might boost your dark type attacks, or you might want, what was the other one? Black belt. Yeah, you might want black belt. You might want life orb, something like that. Okay, with Urshifu is pretty good. So it's just like you need to figure out what combinations you want, And when making a team, it's all dependent on whatever format you're playing, okay? Because every team you have is going to be different depending on who you verse, what the top used Pokemon are, the format you're playing, even the moves and abilities you want to use. Because there is certain moves in the game that you need, that you have to have in the game. And generally, it's like stat boosting moves you have to have. You need healing moves. You have to have some type of haze, like Prankster Haze or Haze with a fast Pokemon, right? But then you often see like these annoying people in battles. They always use this combination, right? I'll literally show you. You'll always see this, like literally always. They have normalize, and then they'll use skill swap or entrainment. So the thing is, if you get blocked, they block you, and then they use entrainment or skill swap. You're never going to be able to land a single hit on Dragapult, right? Doesn't matter what move you use, you're probably not going to do any damage unless it's like Leech Seed or I don't even know if Leech Seed will work, honestly. I think status moves do work, but I'm not sure. Okay, I think like something like Pain Split might work. If you do have Pain Split, it might work, but I'm not sure. Right. So, but entrainment doesn't work on everything. There is some things it doesn't work on. So, like, entrainment will not work on Gulp Missile. It literally does not work on that. It doesn't work on Ice Face, and it will not work on Disguise. So they can try and use entrainment on you, and it's not going to work. But you can also use Magic Bounce, because it can technically be Magic Bounce back. And like I said, Magic Bounce is one of those abilities that you have to have on every team, just because when you run into someone that's going to try and use entrainment or any status move, it's just so handy to have Magic Bounce there. And that's another reason as well, is if someone tries to block you, you're also going to need a switching move, right? You're going to need something like Teleport to switch out so you don't get blocked and stuck in those bad situations. You might need any other switching move. It could be Parting Shot. I think Parting Shot doesn't work in Magic Bounce though. So if you get trapped and they have Magic Bounce, just know Parting Shot's probably not going to work. So keep that in mind. Yeah, could talk about this all day. So I'm just looking at my list on this computer of abilities. Yeah, I would recommend look at my other video about me ranking abilities, and it'll tell you which abilities are good. But for now, I'll just go through another one. Hang on. I'm trying to find it. I just seen it here. Okay. There's another good ability I like called Intimidate. So on switch in, if you switch in, it does lower their attack on switch in, which is just pretty handy to have, like especially if you just want to switch into moves and not worry about really getting one hit KO'd. You can switch in and do that. So you might want Intimidate, then you might want something like King Shield to go with that. And now you can lower their attack even lower. King Shield, Intimidate. Pretty good. Shit. Say you have a multi-strike move, alright? Something like the Scale Shot? Yeah. Something like Scale Shot. You see how it can hit either 2 to 5 times, but that's kind of based on luck, what like the amount of times it hits. So you're going to need something like Skill Link, which goes with these multi-strike moves. And Skill Link is just going to kind of increase the amount of times it hits. So now it's going to hit 5 times all the time because of Skill Link. And that's just going to make Scale Shot a little better. But obviously the alternative to Skill Link is obviously because it hasn't got the highest power, then you can add something like Technician, which gives it a little bit more power. You can add Adaptability, which is going to increase the power of Scale Shot. But you can also use what was it? It is like download. Yeah, there's download, and I think there's Dragon. Yeah, Dragon's more will also do the same thing with Dragon type attacks. So just know, yeah, pick an ability that's going to complement the move, right? That's the point I'm saying. Make a team that's obviously going to not just suit you, but that's going to be viable in the actual game itself. Something that's going to be bulky or good offensively, defensively, or depending on whatever strategy you're going for, then make your team around that strategy. Because you'll see, like in competitive gaming, you might have like weather teams. There might be a whole team just for weather, like water type Pokemon. You'll have a whole team for like water. Sun, there's sun teams. There's even terrain teams, like teams based around terrain. Trick Room, you might have Trick Room teams. So these are all things to keep in mind, right? If you are using Trick Room, then you're going to want slow Pokemon to go with Trick Room. If you are using terrain, then you might want a bunch of Pokemon that are going to be good in terrain, like maybe Electric or Fairy or Psychic. The most common one that I see is I think Rillaboom in grassy terrain. So we'll go, I'll show you like Rillaboom. And then he gets his grassy glide in terrain like this, okay? So something like grassy surge, grassy glide, Rillaboom is really good. So yeah, it just literally depends. Like if you have an ability that summons terrain, you're probably going to want a move that goes with terrain as well, like that. And you're probably going to want a Pokemon that also goes with terrain. And the same would apply if you are like Tapu Lele. Psychic Surge, it activates terrain. Then you want Expanding Force, which goes with terrain, like this. So you got your Pokemon, you got your ability, and your move that all complement each other, just like that. Alright? Let me just check how long this video has been going for. Only 1 hour, it's not too long. I guess I can talk a little bit about yeah, okay, I'll talk a little bit about substitutes. Substitute. So say you put up a substitute as some kind of defense. You want to defend yourself by hiding behind a substitute like this. There is moves that bypass substitutes, like sound-based moves and Spectral Thief are going to bypass the sub. So what you can do is you might want like a Spectral Thief. Someone like you can use Spectral Thief on your enemy if they have a substitute. You can use Boom Burst. But probably if you don't want any moves, you have the option of Infiltrator, which is also going to bypass the substitute. Okay, so it doesn't matter if they have a substitute up, you're gonna hit them either way with Infiltrator like that. But if you don't have sound-based moves or Spectral Thief or Infiltrator, you can technically use Whirlwind, which it will force your opponent to switch out, even if they have a sub, and they'll lose their sub as well. So you can use Whirlwind on Pokemon behind substitute. It does bypass the sub, and it does still work. But something like Circle Throw, I don't think Circle Throw will work on Substitute. So it depends on what switching moves you use. I know Circle Throw will not work, but Whirlwind will. And I think Roar will also work as well, just because it doesn't make contact. Alrighty. And I mean, from a defensive point of view, you can use Stamina. Stamina is a good ability to use if someone has multi-strike moves, because it activates every hit. So say someone has a move like Icicle Spear, okay. Someone uses Icicle Spear on you. Each hit for Icicle Spear will raise your defense if you have Stamina. So Stamina is pretty good ability to have, in my opinion. Like, I think I rated that pretty high in my other video that I made. But also, there is a bunch of other defensive abilities. I already talked about some defensive abilities. But yeah, Dauntless Shield is the other one that Zamazenta has when he switches in. His defense is raised on switch in. Okay. So that is another way you can do. Unless you want defensive moves, then you can use something like Cotton Guard here. Cotton Guard with something like Simple. Now you can get max defense in one turn. Like if you just use Cotton Guard with Simple, then you've got max defense already. Okay. So that's going to be super useful. Yeah, obviously they can steal your stat boost as well. So if you don't want them to steal your stat boosts, the best thing you can do is probably use a normal type Pokemon, just because normal are gonna kind of resist ghost type moves. So yeah, I'll show you this. So you have Chansey, you have an Eviolite Chansey, right? With maybe Fur Coat. And then you use Cotton Guard like that. Now this is just too OP. Like, people are gonna go insane trying to defeat this Pokemon because he's so bulky they can't really do anything at all, right? But maybe you want Simple instead. Maybe you want Simple Cotton Guard, and your defense is a little bit higher. You can do that. You don't have to use Chansey. You can use any Pokemon. But the good thing about Chansey is they can't use Spectral Thief because he is normal type, or she is normal type. Yeah, Spectral Thief will not work on normal. Well, actually, there is a way that Spectral Thief can technically work on normal. That is if you just pick a random Pokemon, okay? A random ghost Pokemon, and then we'll give it normalized. So if you have normalized, there is two options you can do. You can go entrainment. Yeah, you can use entrainment normalized, but you'd also want Spectral Thief with that as well. Okay? Because now in Spectral Thief is the normal type. It turns your ghost type into normal because of normalized here. Now you can hit normal type Pokemon with Spectral Thief. And I think that's like one of the only ways you can do it. But the problem is, I figured this out, which was like, I've never heard of anyone doing this before, but I kind of figured it out, right? So, say someone uses Plasma Fists. They use Plasma Fists right when you use Spectral Thief. And now, if they have like Volt Absorber or anything like that, Spectral Thief is not going to work on that Pokemon, okay? So, I mean, that's the only way I've ever heard of turning Spectral Thief into any other type, like Electric. Like, you wouldn't think about Spectral Thief being anything other than a Ghost type or normal type move, but Plasma Fist can technically turn it into Electric type that turn. So, I think that's the only way you can do it as well, like, so keep that in mind. Unless, I think you have maybe Iron Deluge. It says it's banned, but I think Iron Deluge does the same thing. It does turn that move into a normal type, Electric type, sorry. And yeah, that is only going to be good with like, oh no, sorry, there is also Electrify. Electrify. Yeah, so Electrify will also turn their move into Electric as well. Alright. So that, speaking of Electrify, that gives you another strategy you can do. You can do something like Stunfisk. Sorry. Yeah, you got ground immunity here. But now you want, I don't know, say Lightning Rod. So what you can do is you can use Electrify with Stunfisk. And you're going to boost your special attack. And then you can use something like Earth Power. Or Thunderbolt, something like that. Okay. The problem is, he's extremely slow. And he's not very bulky at all. Extremely slow and not bulky, okay? But there is a solution. You can fix this. And my solution was, instead of using Lightning Rod, I used Prankster. And then I think I used Focus Sash. And then I think I also used sorry. Geomancy? Oh no, it wasn't Geomancy, it was it Shift Gear? Quiver Dance? Oh yeah. Sorry. You can use any stat boosting move you want. Because Prankster is going to give it priority now. So now you have Prankster. You can use Electrify and Prankster, and you're going to go first. But you're going to need to boost your stats so you actually do some damage to the other person. So in this case, you can use Sword Dance. You can Sword Dance if you want, but you'd probably want a special type instead. So I would recommend something like Nasty Plot. So here you have Nasty Plot. You're going to get one free turn because of the Sash. And also, oh yes, don't worry. I don't even know what I'm thinking anymore. I was going to say, you're going to need something that's going to increase you offensively and defensively as well. So the other option would be Geomancy. I know I already talked about that, but if you do use Geomancy, you can use Power Herb with that. Power Herb, Geomancy. Now you have more speed, you have more defense and attack. And obviously you can keep using Electrify, you can go first. But if you want to just use any of these type moves here, Earth Power or Thunderbolt, you're going to need Geomancy, right, to go first. So you're a little bit faster, you're a little bit stronger, and just a little bit bulkier in general, okay? So you can use Geomancy. If you don't want Geomancy, I think you can use like Clangorous Soul. Clangorous Soul does +1 to all your stats. You can use something like No Retreat as well, which is also going to raise your stats. So you might want that. You can use Curse. You can shift gear. I don't know, all your stat boosting moves you can use with Stunfisk. Whatever you want to make him a little bit better. But I'm just mainly showing you Electrify with Prankster. Because he is ground type, he is going to be immune to electric. But if you don't want that, you can technically do Levitate. You can give him Levitate. Now he's immune to ground. He's immune to ground moves. You can give him Thick Fat. And Thick Fat's going to give him some immunity, some resistance to ice type moves, I should say. And then you could do the Yashberry with Stunfisk as well. You could do the Fur Coat strategy here, where you want to increase his defense. You could do Ice Scales if you want him to be a little bit bulkier. You could give him an Assault Vest, but then you would lose the ability to use Electrify. If you don't mind about Electrify, then you can use Assault Vest, but I wouldn't recommend it. Up to you. Electrify works with literally... You can use it with any Pokemon as long as you have like an ability that's going to complement it. Whether you want like Lightning Rod, or you might have a ground type Pokemon. You might have like Motor Drive here instead of Lightning Rod. Volt Absorb. Okay, not Stag. No. So they are your options you can have. And I think I'm going to try to wrap up this video. But I would just recommend you basically look at all your abilities like down here, scroll through them and be like, okay, which ones do I like? You might see something like download, but yeah, I want download, right? You might see something like hustle. Okay, Iron Fist. Iron Fist, I'll show you Iron Fist as well, right? Because didn't talk about that. Yeah, who better to show you Iron Fist with than Melmetal? Actually, there is two types of abilities I'll show you. First, I'll go into here and it'll be like, you have to search what moves are affected by this ability. So if you're ever unsure about what moves are affected by it, just have a look on Google and it'll tell you. So you can use Drain Punch, you can use Bullet Punch, Plasma Fist, Power Up Punch, Surging Strikes, and all that. They are affected with Iron Fist. So, like, if you want, you can use Bullet Punch with Iron Fist, like that. But the other one I'll show you is Heavy Metal. Heavy Metal, it does make your weight even heavier, but the good thing is... Actually, no, I'm trying to think, sorry. You want to look for the heaviest Pokemon if you do use Heavy Metal. List the Pokemon by weight. This is what I did last time, and it just kind of helped me out a little bit here. So the heaviest Pokemon you have would probably be Celesteela, I think. So you have a Pokemon like Celesteela, and now you give it Heavy Metal. And now you give it a move like Heavy Slam, which is affected by weight. Now, because you're the heaviest Pokemon in the game, plus you've already got doubled weight, this move is going to be super, super strong. It's going to be ridiculously powerful on like any Pokemon. So that's a great combination you can use. You might also want Heat Crash, which is also going to do a lot of damage because of your weight. And yeah, I'll just go back to Iron Fists. I think Urshifu is probably the main one I'll show you with. Because I just seen that it was affected by Iron Fist. So you can technically go like Surging Strikes and Iron Fist. That is going to boost the power of Surging Strikes using Iron Fist, okay? So you can do that, and you can also add like Drain Punch as well. And that's going to be super good. Alrighty. So that's a little bit about how to actually build a team. I'm not sure if I'll make another video telling you how to like build a team or whatever, but yeah, they're your basic options. You can either choose Pokemons with the best stats. You can choose Pokemon based on what type you want. You can choose Pokemon based on what ability you have or what moves you actually want to use. Okay. And then make sure whatever moves, abilities, Pokemon, and items you have, they all complement each other to work. Alright? And obviously, there's going to be some exceptions for this when you just need a coverage type Pokemon that's gonna counter like the top used in the game, right? So one of the most used Pokemon in the game, I think we can actually have a quick look at this here. So as soon as you just have a look down here, these generally are like some of the most used Pokemon. Especially someone like Giratina, right? Giratina is one of the most used in the game. So, especially Kyurem Black as well, right? So say someone is using Kyurem Black. You go, okay, what is he weak against? He's not weak against Ice, okay? And he's not weak against Dragon. But okay. So, what is he weak against? He's weak against Fairy type. And also anything that's going to be effective against Ice as well. Maybe not Fire, because Dragon does have a little bit of Fire resistance. But still is going to be pretty good against Ice type, right? So now, if you want to counter for Kyurem Black, then you're going to need someone like Zacian. Zacian's going to be the perfect counter for Kyurem, or any other Fairy Steel type Pokemon. And that's just how you do it. If you want to counter for Zacian, Fairy and Steel, then you'd probably go something like Steel Fire type Heat Ray. So a counter for Zacian would be Heat Ray. It's the perfect counter in the game. Because both these types counter Zacian's types. And that's just how you build a team. It's just like looking at what Pokemon counter which Pokemon, and then maybe having your whole team. So if you have a Fire type Pokemon, Fire is going to be weak against Water. So you might want something to counter Water as well. Like you might want Electric to counter the Water type. So if you have a Fire type Pokemon, it's always good to have an Electric type Pokemon with it, or an Electric type move with it. If that makes sense. Just to counter the Water types you do encounter. But the other option is if you have a Fire type Pokemon, you can technically run an Ice type Pokemon with that, like Ice-Q. And this is going to give you some coverage for ground. Because Fire type generally is weak against ground type moves. Maybe not Ho-Oh because he's flying, but it's good to have an Ice type Pokemon with Fire, or an Electric type Pokemon with Fire, just because of that reason. Alright? And yeah, you just play the game enough, you'll just know the ins and outs, you'll know what Pokemon are viable, what Pokemon are not viable, and you'll come up with these strategies to make a weak Pokemon better. And that's the key, is like any Pokemon in the game can be good if you have the right strategy in the game. And the best example I have of this is say Sook. If you had like a level 1 Sook, right? Look at his stats after I put him down to level 1. It's pathetic. These are your stats here on the side. They're not looking good, okay? They're absolutely horrible stats. But the thing is, this is such a threat because there you have Sturdy and Pain Split. And now you've just automatically made him one of the strongest Pokemon in the game. It really doesn't always matter about your stats. Sometimes your strategy is more important than your stats. Okay? So you can use Pain Split, Sturdy, Heavy Duty Boots, or something like a Lumberry. Okay? And keep in mind, it doesn't matter how weak your Pokemon is, it's how you use it. And that's the key to the game is you can literally make anything good. So, an example of this is literally every single Rock-type Pokemon. They're all basically unviable in the game, right? You cannot use any Rock-type Pokemon in Hackmons without getting absolutely destroyed. But there is actually a way around this. Basically, you look for certain types, okay? Rock is weak against water. I think we all know Rock is weak against water. Don't have to tell anyone that. But Rock is also weak against fighting, okay? So now what you can do is just pick a random Pokemon like this. You can go Water Absorb. Now he's not weak against water anymore. Now he's not weak against water and he's got a little bit of fighting resistance. He's only really weak against ground and steel now. Well, not even steel because of fighting. He's only really weak against ground. So you've just automatically turned a rock Pokemon even better. But you can also use something like Conversion, okay? You give him something like Conversion. Now you can turn him into any single type in the game. Say you want him to be Fairy type. Now you just go like Play Rough. You put Play Rough and Conversion. Now he's a Fairy type. His whole type would change to being Fairy. Okay? So you can even make Rock type good, if that makes sense. Even Rock types can be good if you use them right. It's just, generally in the game, they're pretty unviable. Like, if you use any Rock type, they usually do get destroyed. But it's not really to say that their stats are bad. I mean, Rock type Pokemon have some of the best stats in the game. Their stats are amazing. You look at someone like Rhyperior, and you look at his stats. Like, his defense and his attack are freaking incredible. There is another way you can make him even better. Like, you can Belly Drum. You can Focus Sash. And now you can Accelerate. Okay? Now you got Priority Belly Drum 140. He's ridiculously strong now. If you want, you can even make him even stronger. You can go Water Absorb. Now, what's he weak against? He's weak against ice, sure. He's weak against fighting, sure. But maybe you can give him Thick Fat. Now he's not weak against ice anymore. He's only weak against water now and ice. I mean, water and fighting. So you just kind of got to just think of all these different strategies and how to make them better. I mean, it's definitely hard to do if you're a new player and you don't even know all the names of these abilities. It's going to take you a long time to memorize all these abilities. So always just keep an eye on this list. Like, maybe Google all the abilities. So whenever you need to look at the abilities, they're there for you to look at. Because I don't expect you to like memorize all of these because there's so many. I don't expect you to memorize literally every single move in the game because there is also so many. But that's where it does come in handy, where you've got these options here. You can pick your moves based off power. You can pick your moves based off category, whether it's physical or special or status. And you can pick your moves based off type. Okay. So I was wondering what was going on, sorry. You can also, pick your Pokemon with these stats here, okay? So your stats are gonna make you obviously the most important thing you're gonna be picking your Pokemon off is these stats. And then the next most important thing is your typing. And then your abilities and moves don't matter because it's Hackmons. Because it is Hackmons, you can change any ability and any move. But if you're playing any other format, like OU, for example, if you were playing OU, then the way of building the teams would be completely different. Then obviously you could only use these abilities that are listed right here. So now your abilities would be the main thing you're picking your team off. And the moves, obviously. So yeah, if you were playing OU or any other format, that's when you would be picking mainly off ability and what Pokemon have what moves and what stats and whatnot. But we're not playing OU right now, okay? But if you were, I'm just saying that's how you would do it. But that's why I like Hackmons, because Hackmons gives you ability to pick any move, any ability, and you get more freedom that way, okay? And the good thing about Hackmons is also you can make you can max out all of your EVs. You can max them all out. Yeah, you can max every single one of them and just make him a little better. Because you look at like the other formats like OU, there's a lot of Pokemon you can't even use in OU. And in a way, it kind of makes these Pokemon bad. Like, and it's sad seeing some really cool Pokemon that you can't even use, right? So that's why Hackmons is good. Is it kind of makes some of these bad Pokemon good, and it gives some restored hope to a lot of these bad Pokemon. Like, I don't want to name names or anything, but like you look at all these, like Articuno, man. Articuno was so good in Gen, like the first few gens, and now it's not even that good anymore. But you can definitely make Articuno good again, like especially with Delta Stream. Like something like Delta Stream would make him really good. Volt Absorb would make him really good. Even if you had like Aerolite would make him really good. So I mean, there's still hope for all these other Pokemon. I mean, like Articuno is a bad example because it's not even really that bad. But you look at like Charizard. Charizard is you can't even use Charizard anymore because there's so many other Pokemon that just would counter Charizard. Where in the first gen, Charizard was so good in the first gen. In Gen 8, not so much. I mean, well, you got Ho-Oh, which is going to be way better than Charizard. And most people would just go Ho-Oh. But the strategies are the same, kind of like the same strategies you would use for Ho-Oh, you would use for Charizard as well, you know? So if you think about it like that, then you can make any Pokemon good. And yeah, I'm gonna end the video here. And if you want me to make any other videos again, just let me know and comment whatever you'd like to see below. Peace.